Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show named Project 78. Have you ever wondered? I especially used to study through books only. And that means everything written on the paper, in the book, and we used to write a lot in the copies and notebooks. But the way nowadays students study has changed a lot. And I just wonder how the students maybe 100 years ago or 200 years ago, they used to study. Maybe mostly practical things, doing by hands. Of course, in the end, learning by hands is most effective. But things are changing a lot nowadays. Nowadays, my kids, they have mobile phones, they have these laptops and tablet. It seems like they cannot live without it. And I just laugh at it, at that notion, at that thinking. I've lived my whole student life without these stuffs. I get exposed to internet when I was in engineering, maybe second year, third year, something like that. So today we have a special guest today in the show. His name is Yogesh Malhotra. He has graduated from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka. And incidentally, I have also graduated from the same university. And another coincidence is that we are both mining graduates. So we studied mining. Later, we moved into software and other fields.
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to the show,
Thank you, sir.
Yogesh.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really honored and happy as well to connect with the alumni of the college and really excited to be here. Um, I would like to touch base on one point you just said, 1,000 years ago, how people used to learn. So, in Hindu scriptures, if you go by it, the earlier mode of study was basically they believe in Guru Dakshina. I'm sure you
Hmm.
must be aware of this word, but what Guru Dakshina actually means is there was a special way of teaching. So, a guru will tell a certain kind of scriptured mantras. It used to be mostly vocal, and a student has to decipher it and then get back to the teacher. Okay. Now, that deciphering part, that what the teacher has said, could have multiple meanings. Okay, and
Yes.
that is
Mm.
why time came approximately 4,500 years ago and 12,700 years back when we have a rough estimate of our two biggest books, that is Ramayana and Mahabharata. So both of
Mhm.
them were written, and if you pay attention, Sri Krishna never wrote the Gita. He
Yeah.
sang it. He told it to Arjun. It was told.
Yeah.
It was shown. Okay.
Mm.
Now you might think, since writing it actually protects the content for a longer period of time, then why gurus used to believe in listening and telling? And I wondered the same kind of thing, that why it used to happen. Then
Mhm.
I came across this one notion, and it perfectly describes, okay, that why it happens. We have four yugs. I won't go into the depth of it, but let me just take you. It's a little, I'm digressing from the point, but yeah, I'll come back to that.
Let's go with the flow. I'm
Yeah.
open. Yeah.
So the whole point of them telling was कि जो ज्ञान का मोती होता है, that means that the whole point of knowledge and wisdom are two different things. You can give knowledge to anyone and everyone, but wisdom only comes to those who are calm inside. Okay. Your
Mm.
mind can
Mm.
run thousand simulations at any given point of time, especially when you deal with data. And in today's world, you have to think of different scenarios and you have to run simulations. But at that time, they believed that telling or giving a particular very, very personalized way of teaching. And that's how that our ancestors were much more knowledgeable and could see in the future as well. And that's how they had this whole thing. This is what I understand as of now from our scriptures.
Mhm. So, so Yogesh, sticking to the same point. So that means that kind of knowledge
Mhm.
we cannot provide to everyone, each and
No,
everyone.
no. That's why I
There has
was
to be some certain level of, already they have to qualify
so
to be
at
able to attain that knowledge.
at certain point you're absolutely correct. So again, going back to our scriptures, that how they used to tell, it was not like only Brahman or Kshatriya was the one who could get the
No.
knowledge and Shudra could not get the knowledge, as today money is the only standard of doing it. It was
Yeah.
again coming to your
Mhm.
point that they had that intellect level to understand what the guru had to say. Okay, now
Mhm.
coming to second point, that's why our education system today failed, because we are trying to provide the same kind of content to each and every student. We are measuring individual capacities through one single type of testing. It's like measuring
Yes.
that a fish can climb a tree, or a monkey can climb a tree, a snake can climb a tree, or an elephant can
Yeah.
climb a tree. However, the fish
Mhm.
has its own capabilities, may not be able to climb a tree. So that's why.
Good point. Yeah. Very good point, Yogesh. So, Yogesh, after having all this, like years, after graduating from NITK
Yeah.
and spending nearly about a decade in the industry, what are you doing right now?
So currently, I'm working on two different products. One is in edtech and industrial training itself, and the other one is again in edtech, but for a different target segment.
Mhm.
So now, if you understand a user, if I understand any student, okay, there's hardly in India, especially, is hardly 0.01% top quartile who study for the reason of study. Rest all study
Mm.
in order to be employable, study in order to get
Mhm.
better, what should I say, the employability, better packages, better companies, and so on and so forth. And that fact even agrees to me when I was preparing for engineering. That's why I took NIT Surathkal, because I got the brand name and it was a great
Mhm.
college. It's in top India ranking, and I took the
Yeah.
mining as well. So that
Yes.
fact holds still today, that most of us are doing it for a better chances of employability.
Yeah.
Now, if we actually understand the mindset of a student, okay, so in India, it's not more like a certification is going to help. However, in the world, you see that certificates are somewhere much more valuable. They hold some certain weights, but in India,
Mhm.
they don't. So, okay, so it all comes down to the individual capacity, how much they have grasped from that particular session.
So when you say certificate has no value, I still think that in India, from NITK will have more value
Okay,
compared to,
that's a
yeah.
what I meant was not the traditional degree.
Mhm.
Certificates, a traditional degree and certifications are like small certification, like 3 months.
Okay, they're like the vocational training and
Yes,
all.
yes,
Like,
yes.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
let me give you an example. Okay, so somebody who studied from Coursera and does his project management from there could become
Mhm.
employable in Europe and could become employable in USA. However, Indian do not consider it until unless you have not done properly PMP from PMI.
Okay, got it. Okay.
They
Mhm.
won't.
I, yeah, I think the bar is very high.
Yes.
So when I hear for your like for your products which you're working on,
Mhm.
so can I say that it is an advanced version of the books? Where does it fit into the education world? It's practical or it's
So
not really practical?
yes, let me take you through a scenario. The people who are preparing for, let's say, cabin crew, those who wants to become pilots
Got
and
it?
those who
Hmm.
want to be a cabin crew, trained in the scenarios that a cabin crew would fail. Now, getting an aircraft for them in order to practice is a very difficult task, because the cost of
Yeah.
getting an aircraft
Mhm.
is extremely expensive, and the
Mhm.
cost of keeping that aircraft on the ground is extremely expensive, because you pay to the the management of it, and then you need people who can teach it. So most of the educational institutes forego that part. They try to teach
Mm.
them through books only. However, it increases the cognitive load on the student. The student is not able to, not every student is able to imagine those situations, and if they are, they might not feel the gravity of it. So we
Mhm.
create a virtual immersive environment where a student goes through those modules, practice it by moving their hands, by looking, gazing through their eyes, and having this control through sensors, which is connected to their hands and the whole device, is creating a pseudo environment where they are practicing those real life situations.
Got it. Yes. So if I imagine
Mm.
using your technology,
Yeah,
I can get into the actual world
yeah,
virtually.
yes, yes, absolutely. That's why I
So
think. Facebook took a
I can.
big bet on VR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So does that mean the difference between then the video and the VR will be in the video I see it, okay, what's happening, but I don't feel that I'm part of it.
Yes. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
with this, I will be a part of the whole setup, right?
Yes. That's
Yeah.
very true.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's summarized in a very best manner. So a student becomes the part of that theatrical, the environment which has been created.
And risk free. If I
Absolutely.
do a mistake, okay, I can repeat that.
Yes.
I can go back like a video game. I can go back and then restart the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay. 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 Now I'm getting this sense. So what about if, for example, if a mining engineer, if I go back to our mines,
Mhm.
if a mining engineer
Mhm.
needs to learn, okay, how the ventilation works or how the drilling blasting works,
Mhm.
they can immerse into the whole concept
Absolutely.
without actually getting into the mines, for example.
So yes, absolutely. Well, we were lucky enough to get into the mines, but let's just say that there are certain students who are very passionate but do not get to go underground mines. Just taking an
Yeah.
example, and there is a mine ventilation. So we create a module. So what a student will see is that he's standing there. Behind him, he'll see a
Mhm.
huge fan which will be rotating, so he could see the air current going through it. Okay. And when
Mhm.
he presses the sensors, he move forward the shaft and the blocks and will be able to see from where
Uh-huh.
all the air is coming
All
out.
right.
So basically,
Yes.
it gives a very immersive experience to the students that, yes, mind ventilation is a very important part because the air that is coming from here, from all the directions are meeting at one particular point.
Correct. Okay. And same thing can be transferred into like engines, for
Yes.
example, a car engine, a motorcycle engine, all those places. If somebody wants to open up the engine, then one can really learn through this augmented reality, virtual reality, right?
I'll take you through best of the scenario. So I'm sure everyone must have seen this Iron Man scene where tries to find out who actually created the explosion. Okay, so it's an
Mhm.
Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3, I forgot it, but he creates, okay, in even Iron Man 2 only, even when he tries to create that virtual environment where he's looking at every heat sensor, that's the data. Every heat
Mm.
sensor, the
Mhm.
heat sensing point, where the temperature was high, where the body of his bodyguard was, where could have been the possible ways of explosion. So let me just take you through the journey of the future. Now, companies like Toyota, big companies, so what do they do? Of course, they can train their engineers on real engines, which is quite expensive, or they can create a virtual reality simulation where one experienced technician would be telling a group of people who are seeing the same visuals inside the same kind of environment and doing the same thing so that they get perfect at it. It's a replication of the technique. It's the replication of the expertise.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Interesting. So we'll talk a little bit more about this, Yogesh, but let us come back to your NITK.
Yeah.
What was your experience in NITK? What do you still remember the most? And any you know those words we used to use in the in the college. Do you remember some of them still? And do
Yeah.
you use them? Yeah.
There were quite a bit of words, but I don't use them very often until unless I'm not talking to my, again, college friends. Uh,
All right. Yeah.
but yeah, I do remember them. Coming to the college, I think one of the best experience was the kind of cohort I had. All my friends, all the people from different backgrounds. And I mean, it was so diverse and so understanding, and I still have that very great connection with all of my classmates. There's no doubt about it. And they
Mhm.
all are at very different places now, but we're still connected by that one bond. So yeah,
Do you remember any story from there?
lot,
Very vividly.
uh,
A lot?
a lot of stories. We have a lot of stories. I mean, I still remember. So what we were doing is, I think we had through civil engineering department, we used to have geology as a study.
Correct. Yeah.
So we had that subject, and a lot of stones were shown to us, and in order to remember them.
Right. Hmm.
So my whole batch was like, hey, let's take click pictures and, keep it in our phone so that we can remember them. Because Reddy sir showed us like 20, 25 of them. Uh,
Yes.
and almost quads used to look like same as every,
Yeah.
some of them, other stones as well. So we used to have that. Okay, by diagram ye hai. And this came from
Mhm.
our CR, class representative. So, this is the correct one. We'll just pass that on.
All right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. There were numerous stories.
Yeah.
4 years.
Yes.
It has to be really lively. Yeah. Every day and night, something special is happening. You used to have those NCs still, or it was closed in
No, it
your
was still there.
right canteen?
Oh, it blasted. I mean, I think they were having more orders per hour than maybe previous years because, a lot of students used to order it, especially at night. And then that one guy used to come on scooty with, huge box of orders to whole hostel. He'll
Oh
deliver at
my God.
once. And
Oh,
yeah, that used to be fun. It
so
used
it
to-
changed a lot. I mean, so I can imagine how the economy is growing, all these different things which has come up now in India, delivery to the doorstep.
Yeah.
I think NC has also done something like that,
He
directly into
never gave
your
us
home.
credit
And
though. He never gave us credit. I mean, the smoke shop which was outside the college would give us credit because he know our face. And night canteen person, he knows that these are the student of the college. Still won't give us credit. But yeah, it
okay.
was all good.
So that's good. Any struggle times you had in NITK?
I went through two kinds of struggles. At one, you can say, was kind of a health issue related thing, and the other one was, when I was trying, I had a placement session, and my year, it happened that the general seats, the general category seats were not there. There was only one seat across all India
Mm.
for Coal India Limited. However, if I remember my first day, my senior,
Mhm.
who was in final year, entering into final year, I was entering into first year. He told me, "Ke, tumhare to, you have this written on your forehead, you'll go into Coal India Limited." I was super
Mhm.
excited,
Mhm.
we'll get into Coal India. That's a public sector unit. We'll work there and everything. However, at my time, that was the major struggle. They just have one seat.
Oh.
That
So
was
where
one.
were you placed then?
What?
From the college, you were placed in
I
any coal mine?
No,
Coal?
I was placed in Ambuja Cement. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's a cycle, Yogesh. In my times also,
Yeah.
I think only one company came, and that too not core mining. It was at least Copco,
Yeah,
and
Atlas
rest of the
Copco is
people.
there. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
for mining machineries. It's a very big
Yes.
company.
Yes. And but before that, there were many software companies. They came and they were picking the students, and yeah, they were also offering jobs for the mining graduates. Yeah. Okay. So then you joined Ambuja Cements, or did do something different then?
So initially, as a just out of college person who doesn't know anything much about the world, of course I went with the campus placement. But I stayed there
Mhm.
for only 5 months because I knew I wasn't cut out for cement industry. Honestly
Mhm.
speaking, no harsh feeling for that, but I mean it's all good and great.
All good. Yeah.
But I wasn't cut out for that. So I quickly switched to education department. And
Mhm.
I started with taking physics for IIT JEE and became the business and operations manager for one of the biggest, preparatory kind of a coaching institute, Bansal classes.
Mansell classes.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
very fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I became their operations manager. I take care of creating the SLAs between the other schools and the organizations, helping the students, and while simultaneously teaching them physics at that time.
I see. Okay. So how this transition happened? I mean, what was going in your mind at that point of time? That
Um,
okay, you could have tried several things it's in the world,
Definitely.
but then
Yeah.
yeah.
So just when I left Ambuja, okay, so my father was really angry with me that, you left
Mm,
a very stable company. And that would be very true. Okay. So if I go back in 1980s, the trend of India was nobody will, remove you from job. Nobody is going to take your job. Once you have taken it, you are there for 20, 30 years. However,
yeah.
coming to 2000, the time period reduces to 10 years. And today, companies can replace you really quickly. And It's not something that, it's kind of a stability factor anymore. So when I got out, I immediately understood one thing. Okay, what is the first skill that I can use to get a income source for
Uh,
me? And that was, I am very good with physics. I was very good with physics. Okay. So I just entered into teaching the physics first.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So you approached Bansal classes directly, or?
Yes, yes. I approached to Bansal classes in Dehradun. So one of my
Mm-hmm.
friend told me that there is a vacancy over there. So maybe you can apply. He wasn't from the same college, but he was a friend. So I applied there.
Mm-hmm.
I got the admission, and it was all good.
All right. So it started with the Bansal
Yes,
classes, the
yes,
education.
yes.
You officially entered into education
Absolutely.
industry.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Well, the first thing that you see is, and sorry to be blunt, but 96% of the student are to give money to the institute. Uh,
Yes.
they I don't want to say that they are not capable, but like I said in the beginning, a fish has its own capabilities, and an elephant has
Mm-hmm.
its own, a snake has its own. So basically, we were trying to categorize all the students to just go with the one exam, which their capabilities were not aligned with. And that is something
Yeah.
that initially used to bother me as a person who was giving his best. You understand, but it was for me to
Mhm.
understand that not everyone is as sincere or as serious to get into that same college or to get it the same rank. However, they might dream of it, but they are not very sincere about it.
Right.
That was the first challenge. The second challenge came when you actually connect with the students. I started connecting with them because the age gap was not very much. Okay. They were
Mm-hmm.
18. I was 23, 24 at that
Yeah.
time. Okay. 17, 18, 17 years and 24. So 7 years
Yeah.
gap. So they used to be quite open with me and they used to tell me what are the problems they are facing at home. To be honest, I usually used to feel like to tell them not to pursue IIT if you're not okay with that, because it was putting pressure on them. That's why today Kota, the capital
Mm.
of IIT preparation in India, is facing with a lot of mental health issues. A lot of students are, not able to cope up with the pressure, and we have suicides on almost on a monthly basis there.
Yeah.
That's
That
one
I
of the
heard
major
about
problems.
this. Sad. Yes. Major problem. Yeah.
So I think somewhere the trend of people's mentality has to change, that it's not only IITs or NITs or the engineering who's going to make their career. Because what I see in
Mm-hmm.
West, musicians have careers, sports player have careers, people who are great
Yes.
lawyers have careers. I have seen people doing degrees with humanities have become great UN speakers, have career. However, India still needs to come out of this mindset that, is only engineering and there is only IT that can give you career. Sorry to say that I
Right.
also somehow went into that same category, because even for me, the exposure was kind of at that time limited. But yes, it's majorly dominated the India's outsourcing of the IIT. That's why we still believe in creating the supply of it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I think here your story of fish climbing a tree is more relevant. Even if we try to teach them, first of all, fish doesn't have the property of doing this.
No.
But still, the mother and father somewhere, I think, or the relatives, I think that's the biggest problem there, because they will start talking to the father and mother, and then what
Mm.
is your kid doing? Yeah, I have heard
Yes.
these stories.
So,
My father, my
Mhm.
parents, they used to be more under pressure than me. And because of them, I used to come
Yeah,
under
yes.
pressure. Yes.
So what
Yeah.
you're talking about is a cognitive load, that
Yeah.
it creates a load on your cognitive abilities, that I have to study, I have to study, I have to study. So this
Mhm.
keeps on going in your head. I have to study, which has already created a stress on you. Then the actual
Mhm.
study itself.
Yes.
You haven't
Yeah.
even
That
started.
was, that consumes a lot of RAM of
Yeah.
our mind
Yes.
than the
Yes.
actual freeing up the mind and doing the actual studies.
Yeah.
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 Yes. So what happened after the Bansal? How did you move to the next then?
So after that, after 3 years of working with Bansals in education, and I understood how students are. what their latent need is, what exactly they look forward to. I went into Byju's as a product manager, and I basically went to a lot of schools looking at how our students were using the applications. And
Mhm.
then we understood something, that instead of giving them a raw training at that time, that,
Mhm.
go with this chapter completely and then solve the question, go with this chapter. We came up with, why not connect concept to the question, or maybe the meaning of the concept to a question, to
Mhm.
gamify that part. Okay. And the major part was, instead of having one way of learning, which is a teacher speaks and a student listen, where on an average, the attention span is usually 1.5 minute to 2 minute. If you look at it, a 1.5 hour lecture doesn't make sense if a student cannot, you know, get this. So we were trying to introduce a lot of questions in between so that they remain interactive.
Got it. Oh,
Yeah.
nice move.
Well, at that time it
Mhm.
was, but today we need to do a lot more because the attention span is falling drastically
Mhm.
today. So I would say there is a content overload now on the internet. You have everything. You have
Yes.
I mean, there are 14,400 edtech startups in India itself. And if you talk about the world, I think that will be probably more than 60,000. So, if you talk about just learning the physics as a subject, you can learn from anywhere. Khan Academy is there, Coursera is there, YouTube is there. Then there is
Mhm.
Byju's. Then there is another, Physics Wala is there. Lots and lots of content. Now the question comes, who is teaching me to the value point where I'm able to pass the exam? Point number one, that a student wants. Second, who is teaching me to the exact point where I understand it quickly, which is creating
Mhm.
their backlog. So this is now the new problem is, attention has become a new game when it comes to edtech.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's scary, I would say. If we cannot concentrate on even for like, I mean, forget about, I read somewhere that now the attention span of human has gone less than that goldfish used to have, something like that.
seven,
Somewhere I
seven
read
seconds, 5 to 7 seconds.
seven
Yeah.
seconds. Yeah.
It has somewhere. See, if you look around, students are now trying to learn, not even students, everyone. How are we consuming our news? We want to consume our news through Instagram. We want to consume our news through Facebook, which are short. We're not even looking at the news channels who give us the detailed news. We can't
Mhm.
hear 45 minutes of two people debating. We want to see exactly, what is the short point of it. So the whole world has now moved. Why TikTok is such a rage? It's a short content. It's a
Yeah.
content that is so short, easily digestible. You either relate to it or you don't. If you don't relate, you move on. If you relate to it, you watch. That's
Mhm.
how the human perception has become.
However, Yogesh,
Yeah.
when I look at me myself,
Hmm.
doing a lot of introspection,
Hmm.
I think whenever I stick to a certain point for a longer duration, and not just like in seconds and hours, I'm talking about in months and years,
Yes.
that field I have excelled. The fields which were of short duration, I never.
Absolutely.
That is why me,
Hmm.
what I see myself. But anyways, what do you think about this?
What you're saying is absolutely correct. Okay. And let me give you why I agree with this point. Okay. So a short content, when you create, it might be relatable. It might create a emotional heightened state where you think you'll be able to remember. However,
Mm,
you will not become a subject matter expert, or you will not be
that
a person
right.
whom
Mm,
I can ever trust on, because your knowledge is coming from an untrusted source. Book is
yeah, that's
something,
right.
a proper research is something which is tested, which is being peer reviewed, which is being coming from a writer who can be questioned anytime if he makes a mistake, and he knows that, even the publishing house knows that, and anyone who is
Mhm.
giving out that content knows it. They know that if we make a mistake, it's a very bigger one. It's playing with somebody's future. However, short
Future has it.
content,
Yes.
people don't care.
Yeah. So then you moved into Byju's.
Yeah.
So how was your experience there in Byju's? Were you equally like you had some kind of experience like 96% of the people, they are just giving the money and
Mhm,
not taking the value out of
mhm.
what they're investing?
But
Same thing in
same
Byju's.
thing,
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah. So if we let's assume we have 1 lakh users at any given point of time. So let me first
Hmm.
differentiate between user and a customer. Okay. So when it comes to edtech, customer is the one who makes the buying decision, which will be parent,
Right.
and a user
Hmm.
is the one who's going to use it. So
Hmm.
Byju's believed in convincing the customer,
Hmm.
not creating the, I wouldn't say value proposition for the user, there always was. However, a
Hmm.
user was not able to completely understand it. A user was
Yeah.
not able to completely use it. So,
All
coming to
right.
your
Yes.
question again, if there was at any given point of time, there are 1 lakh users who were studying through the application, the average time spent came out to be 7 minutes.
What?
Yes,
7 minutes.
that's it. 7 minutes, the average time spent. So, and of course, 7 minutes was something that I'm talking about a particular category. I cannot tell you the whole application's time spent, which will come out even lesser. But I'm just telling you about a particular category when it comes to IIT JEE, and that's the category I'm talking about. So just think
Wow.
about it, that it was really difficult for students to concentrate. That's a major issue. Now
Then what happened?
we
Yeah.
try to
Okay.
solve it.
And now? Hmm.
We understood, because the core product needs to solve a problem. A student losing interest was our core problem. Now was so you go to the root cause analysis. Was there any issue with our content? Was the way the content was given not good, or the student is not able to relate to it, or something XYZ? So we
Mhm.
noted it all down, we created the hypothesis, and we learned one important thing, that it missed out interaction. Side speaking is very difficult to engage a student.
Mhm.
A student has to come back. A student has to create a stimuli in order to actually grasp that he's there. So we try to gamify it by introducing concept in question and moving their journey through
Mhm.
gamification to another concept, and that worked for quite a bit of time. But then that also we saw a little bit decline. Then there were another reasons. Then we again created hypothesis, and we again learned. So overall, overarching learning of this entire journey was, again, coming to the same conclusion: 96% of the student are just paying because of certain external factors. That could be relatives, parents, just to
Mhm.
create a backup plan for, because Byju's was not the first product they will always rely on. They were still reliant on their school education, their tuition or coaching, and then comes the Byju as a secondary product for learning. That was the right.
I think now when I hear the stories that
Mm.
people sitting under the lamp, the street lamp, and then still cracking biggest, toughest exam. I hear those kind of studies on the other one side. On the other side, students have all the resources which they require,
Yes,
but
yes.
then they don't do it. So I mean, there is a gap. Like I think it's always
It will always
what
remain.
people want to do.
I mean, till the time, again, we come back to our first story again, till the time we are not, and this is where AI will come. Till the time
Hmm.
we have not created an exceptionally personalized learning for each individual student, we would
Yeah.
not have an exceptional engagement. You are a person
Hmm.
who might be weak, so you might take 25 minutes to understand a concept, and another student may take 5 minutes to understand the same concept.
Hmm.
Now, all the edtechs around the world are trying to have this content at a particular length. Let's say they came up with the data and they say, okay, let's create this content for 7 minutes.
Hmm.
The 25-minute understanding user will go out. The one who understands in 4 minutes will either skip past or move forward. A very
Yes.
small percentage would lie into it. But once we have cracked this part of personalized learning, there's no going back. There's no
Mm.
going back. That's the real thing that's going to come in future.
The same time, Yogesh, what I think is that now the information, like you said, mentioned earlier, the overload is there.
Yes.
You can consider it like a forest, the jungle is there. And a student has all these things available. There is no restriction.
Yes.
And then student can start picking, maybe have a short, like we used to have orientation
Yes.
in the
Yes.
first 2 days, something like that.
Absolutely.
So they will have their own orientation, and then they can start picking the areas where they have most interest, and maybe they can start going deeper into certain subjects. The other subjects probably not, just maybe to get pass marks. And probably the education will change a lot, and we could have not the generalist but the specialist directly, producing directly specialist.
Absolutely great point. And let me just tell you why India will not go into the specialized direction. Okay. Indian mindset has always remained that every student should be a generalist, a knower of all the fields. If you look at the countries like Australia, so I have clients from Australia, the students from Australia, and the people who are specialized in their particular field will not know anything about the other field. So, just to give you a sense of
Yeah.
an
Yes.
example, let's talk about a person who is in a finance department. Okay, finance becomes still a very, broader one. Let me take it down to a niche. A person in the finance department only deal with the banking credit segment. Okay. That person is never interested or doesn't care about or doesn't want to know that how housing market is doing as of now, or is it
Mhm.
not very much interested at how education is doing. His job is to understand about the credit needs, how credit is being affected, and how can I sell or create more credit cards. In India, if you are a person with the niche, you will be replaced quickly. That's an inherent fear every Indian has. You'll be replaced, you will be given to somebody else who can perform more tasks. That has been now
Mhm.
become an inherent. So you need to know about all the things that are happening around.
Yes, that's also true. We cannot have like a billion people, billion specialists.
Yes,
That's also a problem.
absolutely.
The specialists will be very few in number. Right. So I understand these issues, and I think they will either aggravate more in future, and probably, or we will find some solutions. I think it's always like if that individual knows what he or she wants to do in the life, and then take a plunge, and then maybe go in that direction, is probably one solution. So, like we heard about ikigai and all stuff, but
I,
maybe the young mind will not know more about it. Probably they will need some help there, how to find their ikigai.
so what do you say is yes, if you look at it, the passion is something that every Indian uses that word, but however, why we are not able to implement it? See, everything starts when it comes to nation starts from the government. We are paying
Yes.
taxes, and let's talk about me. I've been paying taxes from last 10 years, but does this guarantee that in my old age the government is going to help me? No, in India it's no such thing. We are billion
Mm.
people, the government
Mhm.
cannot provide. Okay, the lower end needs more. Okay, the higher end has the capacity to pay for themselves. Comes the middle class, which is the biggest percentage of people who are so scared that they will, even after paying taxes, they know that they have to carry themselves throughout the old age as well. So India doesn't
Yeah.
have that luxury to be a specialist. India can't have that
Right.
luxury.
I think last time you were mentioning something good, no, about the middle class is just a sickness away from poverty line,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. We
Yeah.
are. Yeah, that's true.
We are.
It's just one big medical, I mean, not even big. Just to give you an example, the skewness of the wealth concentration has become so much and so vast now that one medical bill is enough for the lower middle class to come to, the poverty section.
That's true. Yes. It's like that.
So
Mm.
India doesn't have that luxury to be a specialist because our government
Right.
cannot support if you fail in your category. So
And I
that's
don't think that it is coming
no,
in near future. It
no,
will, it's not expected. Nobody's trying for that also.
not at all.
And
No.
and I think from the parents' perspective also it makes sense that they want their offspring, their kids to do well in their life.
Yes.
Yeah. And what, where? when and how, probably that is not the answer. They just want, okay, get into this league and then try afterwards what is possible. Yeah.
It's there. It has been followed, I think, tirelessly from past maybe more than 30 years now.
Mm,
It all
yes.
started with so Russia launched Sputnik. I'll tell you the story that how India became the epicenter of supply of engineers to US. Russia spent Sputnik, which created a Cold War in USA. That how are
Mm,
they able to send a man-made artificial satellite into the space and we are not? So we need resources. Okay. So
mhm,
the person who was contacted and was given the whole need somehow went to America from Hyderabad, especially. Okay.
mm,
And from there, once he got the lifestyle, he told to 20 others, hey, do the engineering. The USA requires us. They did it,
yes.
they get back. So you look at America, you look at the whole hotel chain industry, it's completely dominated by Patels. It's
Mm,
completely dominated by Indians because they understood that motel chain industry is being understood by Patel. So they go there, they create it, then they call more people. Similarly, goes for the engineering. We
yes.
are supplying 18% from Andhra and 18% from Punjab to Canada and USA
Mhm,
continuously year on year.
mm,
And the reason for
mhm,
that is just one. USA believes that we will have much better Indian or cheaper solution to all our problems, especially in technical, and they're hardworking. And when Canada, it's you already know it's being dominated by Punjab for several
yes.
reasons. Because again,
Huh,
cheap labor and they are doing all the trucking works, all the
yeah.
low level jobs are being done over there.
Mm,
This is a hard fact. I'm not saying that
yeah. Yeah.
Indians did not excel. They did. They did excel. That's the one thing we are still thriving in whatever environment we are thrown.
Mm,
But coming back to your point, after Sputnik, USA wanted people. They got the people. That created a whole chain. The whole chain became a culture. The culture became very embedded in the system now.
that's right.
That's it.
I see. Absolutely right. Yeah, Yogesh. So, Yogesh, what
Mhm.
is your message? What to the people listening to the podcast about your current initiatives which you have taken? So,
Yes. So, I mean, message is something very difficult for me to come to today. Like I said, we can discuss the problems and we can discuss the areas of solution. However, one thing is for sure, the AI is going to be used, and India has allocated 1 lakh crore to Indians to develop their own AI in order to gain the edge because we have on one side China, which is always there. Okay? Second comes the part of when you talk about the education market, we will not be having specialists maybe for next 10 years to 20 years as of now
mhm,
because the Indian system does not demand that as of now.
demand.
But if the day do come, there will be a T-shaped learning. And what do I mean by T-shaped learning is you know about this much
Mhm,
about concept A, you know about this much about the field B, you know about this much about the field C. However, your core field you know in this much depth. And then there is
yeah.
field D, field E, field F. So you created a T.
Okay. Okay. Getting it.
Yeah. So that is what we will be seeing in next maybe a decade or so.
Yeah. Okay. And you are going to change or contribute in these fields through your VR programs or?
Definitely, we are creating VR solutions for our students, and we want them to become more employable. As I told you, the latent need of the student is not just to earn the certificate. The latent need is to become more employable, and we want
Yes.
to make them
Mhm,
whether by pseudo learning or by creating a stipend learning or a learning in an controlled environment. But yes, the book learning has to change. It's ripe for disruption. So as soon as
got it.
we
Okay.
we do that disruptions, I think we will have in India a different way of learning. Definitely.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. These learnings. And you remember our discussions when you were saying earlier about the next gen wars between
Yeah,
the countries?
yeah. That's going to be using AI as nuclear
Will be
wars
AI.
will. It's something now. Just to give you an example, there was a time when people were so afraid of cannons until we didn't have any missiles. Cannons were
Mm,
there, right? So we
mm,
are afraid of nuclear weapons, of course. But now, if you look at AI, we can create things. to different countries that they can never come back from. Just to give you a sense of example, the flow of information. So let's look at today's scenario of Bolivia. Just taking an example, or not even Bolivia. I'll go with the example of. Let's take an example of Vietnam. Okay, so all the manufacturing plant from China that moved into Vietnam. So Vietnam now requires a lot of people to be trained in manufacturing. Okay. Where do they get this content? There are very few people in Vietnam itself who can conduct these training. So they are dependent on open sources like YouTube. Now, if a
Yeah.
person who can skew that learning metric, or a person who can create a false data into that, a false information injection into it. Now think
Hmm.
about it, the whole generation, the whole learning of the class of learning, who doesn't know that whether it is right or wrong, is first time learner, will be learning absolutely wrong, will be
Oh
trying
my
out
God.
absolutely wrong, will be doing out
Mhm.
absolutely wrong. And these are
Mhm.
the damages that not only happen in learning sector. Now think about the financial sector. What do you see?
Yes.
Numbers in your wallet are just digital numbers. They're not real until unless you don't get a cash in your hand, right? So skewing those data to create panic situations and so on and so forth. So these data injections will become a very common way of controlling a country's resource.
Yeah.
And of course, we
Yes.
have autonomous robots, autonomous UAV, unmanned vehicles.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's so. Let me give you a simple example. I create a drone this big, and I have encoded your picture into it. Okay,
Mhm.
you live in the vicinity of 40 kilometers to me. If I launch
Mhm.
that drone in your vicinity by, let's say, 500 meters away, and then I move to 40 kilometers away, now that drone is
Mhm.
designed to find you and attack to you only.
Oh.
That's just
Hmm.
one part of it. Or maybe I'm just collecting information about you.
Hmm.
It's a very
What do you
small.
do? Where do you visit? And all blah blah stuffs.
Yes, yes.
Flying. Yeah.
Yeah. So all these things could happen, and they're not far. I mean, if
Yeah.
you go down this road, they're not far. And the point
Like in my
about
lifetime.
yeah, yeah. In this lifetime only, definitely you're gonna
Mm.
see something. I mean, I'm pretty much
Mm.
sure something would come up very drastically. Uh, and the reason why I say this is, and uh, if you look at what people are doing, what OpenAI started with. So OpenAI was an open source. Okay, hey, we are a
Mm.
social entity. We'll be providing you with everything, this and that. And then they created a corporate structure above it. Okay, hey, the social was there, but it is only limited to this part. Now we are private. We are for profit, and a technology that is so far ahead becomes a private for profit is a
Mm.
competitive edge over everyone else and every
Mm.
country as well. So now it's as simple as going back in time of 1940s when Manhattan Project was there and USA was trying to build up their nuclear weapon. As soon as they
Mhm.
dropped it on Hiroshima, the whole world knew the USA
Yeah.
has a competitive advantage. If we don't make it, we are done. So the same race has begun now.
Yeah. I think I watched that movie also. Yeah.
I mean, so let me put you in this sense. Right now, what we are talking is being recorded somewhere in the cloud.
Yeah.
And if people in any way think that, there will be a kill switch to I doubt that. I still doubt it.
Mm.
There is a very big reason for that because once you, as a human, if you are aware of that, you need food, okay? So
Mhm.
the first thing you're going to do is you will keep a stash of food. So if you think
Yeah.
that they are only dependent on the electricity, they might find a way to energize themselves through data. We don't know it.
Mm.
So the
Mhm.
first thing they're going to do is create their backup plan.
Okay. And there is no restart switch or what? Something like that. We cannot restart our life or what?
I think like the word I think Albert Einstein said that the third world war could be fought with nuclear weapons, but the fourth one will be fought with again bricks and sticks.
Mm.
Sticks and stones,
Ah.
yeah. That means we'll
Mhm.
go back to again a time where
The cycle.
yeah. But there is a sliver of hope. And what that sliver of hope is, if you go through the statements of Elon Musk and if you go through the other statements as well, they want to integrate this AI with the human capabilities. So there is a one
Mhm.
particular startup in, I forgot whether it is in Scandinavian country or is it in UK. I forgot that. So that guy has kept a camera 24 hours live feeding his daughter because he wants to create an artificial general intelligence. We understand AI. AI can have our analytical thinking but cannot have our emotional thinking. Whereas an
Yes.
AGI, once developed, will have
So,
both of them.
what is AGI?
It's very different. So AGI is artificial general intelligence. That's the full form of it. What it actually means is something that can not only have analytical abilities of far greater than humans, but will also understand the emotional capabilities, which is our
Hmm.
competitive edge as of now over the AI.
Yes.
That we understand the emotions of the other. We can mimic that. We can be happy. We can be sad. We can manipulate and all those things. So once an AI starts to understand and is able to know our deepest emotion as well, that is where it becomes
Mhm.
AGI, and that is far more dangerous.
Yeah. Okay. So, like when we say that, I understand the people, those who are like, for example, tell to my son,
Mhm.
"Oh, you're looking sad today. What's going on?" So I can sense it somehow through his body,
Mm.
postures and facial expressions. The today is different than the other days, and I can sense that those things, and I can ask and I can interact. So in that direction, oh my god! So this is
Just
interesting as well. And
think about it. You are able to read your son's micro expressions because you have spent at least 5, 10, or 15 years with him. Now think about a
yeah,
machine who can read your micro expressions because their cameras are so heightened
mm,
and they
mm,
don't need to spend 10 years in order to understand you. They need
yes,
15, 20, or maybe an hour to
yeah,
just map your entire genome from analytical to
yes,
your emotional thing.
and then it can such 10 cameras will build experience of like 1,000 years within
Yeah.
few years. Oh my god! Yes, yes, I see what you're saying. I can understand this.
Yeah.
Wow. So Yogesh, this was really, really great interaction, Yogesh.
Same
I,
here.
I I'm like every time I talk to you, I need another 30 minutes to kind of cool down and then think, okay, what's happening here? Yeah, because these all discussions bring me to a heightened state. Yeah, Yogesh. So very well. Thank you very much. We'll
Thank you.
interact maybe some more time, other times. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
And to the viewers, what do you think about these things, these education, the new education, which we can leverage for our own benefit? Yogesh is on this path to provide us those solutions, those features which we can leverage for our education. At the moment, we are talking about this airline industry, but probably it can be also copy pasted, replicated in other industries as well. So think about it. If you have any other questions to Yogesh, you can reach out to Yogesh. Yogesh, you are generally available on LinkedIn or some
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
platforms.
I'm very active on LinkedIn. Yes.
You're very, very active. Yes. That's why we connected also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks a lot.
Thank
Very
you.
much. Enjoyed the
Thank you so
session.
much. Yes.
Yeah. Have fun then. Until next time, Yogesh. Take care. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.